My name's Kale, I'm 25, and I guess if you asked my family, they'd call me the other son. That's not a nickname. It's basically how I've been referred to for the last decade, ever since my younger brother Ryan decided to be perfect. He's the golden boy, captain of the varsity soccer team, full ride to a top university, and the kind of guy who somehow makes everyone around him feel like a supporting character in the Ryan show. I used to think I was being petty for feeling second best, but after what happened at his graduation party, let's just say I stopped pretending. To understand how we got there, you have to go back a bit. I was never a bad kid. Average grades, quiet, respectful. I liked sketching, coding, and volunteering at the animal shelter on weekends. But I wasn't loud about it, and I never gave big speeches at the dinner table like Ryan. I didn't win trophies, and I didn't care about impressing anyone, which, apparently, meant I didn't matter. My parents never outright said it, but you feel it when they look through you to praise someone else. When your accomplishments are met with silence, or worse, a passive, "That's nice, honey." But when Ryan got a B+ on a midterm, they were posting about it like he'd cured cancer. It got worse in high school. Ryan was 2 years behind me, but even before he caught up, the comparison started. My mom would bring up his test scores before mine even hit the fridge. My dad once told me, and I'll never forget this: "Not everyone's meant to shine, Kale. Maybe Ryan's just got that extra something." That stuck with me, like I was the warm-up act for the main performance. I moved out when I turned 19, took a remote IT job, saved up, and rented a small apartment across the city. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I didn't ask them for anything, not a dollar. Meanwhile, Ryan got a brand new car the moment he passed his driver's test, and somehow convinced them to pay half his tuition despite that full scholarship. I didn't say a word. I kept my distance, showed up for holidays, smiled through the tight family dinners, and kept the peace. But deep down, the resentment grew. Not jealousy, just hurt. And a kind of disbelief that they could so easily toss one kid aside while polishing the other like a trophy. Which brings us to the party. It was held at some country club just outside town. White tablecloths, rented DJ, a tiered cake with "Congratulations, Ryan," piped in perfect blue icing. I got the invite 2 weeks before, a generic text from my mom that read, "Hope you can come." It would mean a lot. I knew that wasn't true. I knew it was just so they could say they invited me. But still, I showed up. I always did. Maybe part of me hoped they'd notice. Maybe part of me still craved that. When I got there, the place was packed. All our relatives, his friends, some of his professors, even a few neighbors I hadn't seen in years. I stood near the bar, sipping on ginger ale, while people floated past me like I was a potted plant. A few offered the polite, "Oh wow, you're Kale, right?" But they didn't stick around. Everyone was there for Ryan. Then came the toast. My dad clinked his glass, the crowd hushed, and he stood at the center of the dance floor with his arm around Ryan's shoulder. He smiled wide, proud, chest out. "To the child who actually made us proud," he said. The room laughed, not a loud laugh, more like a ripple of polite agreement. A few people clapped. My aunt raised her glass and said, "Good thing we didn't waste money throwing one for you, Kale." Another round of chuckles. I smiled, nodded, even raised my glass. But inside, my hands were trembling. My mom, always more subtle, just sipped her wine and added, "Some kids are just disappointments. That's life." Like it wasn't a direct hit. Like it wasn't poison wrapped in silk. I stood there still. I felt my jaw clench. I looked around and realized no one flinched. No one said a thing. No one found it cruel. To them, it was all just true. And that's when I felt something shift. I didn't say a word. Just walked out into the hallway, leaned against the wallpapered wall, and took a few deep breaths. I pulled the USB drive from my pocket and turned it over in my hand. I had debated bringing it. I'd prepared it weeks ago, a compilation of videos, photos, screenshots, even audio. But I hadn't planned to use it. I thought, maybe I wouldn't need to. That maybe, by showing up, I could be enough. But the thing about being invisible for long enough? Eventually, you stop asking to be seen, and you make damn sure they have to look. Back in the main hall, the DJ was fumbling with the slideshow setup. I walked over, calm, and said, "Hey, mind if I check the file? My mom asked me to help with it earlier." He shrugged, handed me the laptop. One click. I ejected the USB already in there, slipped in mine, renamed the file, walked away. I sat back down with my drink. Waited. Let them pile back in. Let them clap and cheer as the lights dimmed and the screen flickered to life. At first, it looked normal. Baby pictures. Ryan in a high chair. Ryan playing soccer. Ryan with cake on his face. Then it changed. The next photo was from a birthday when I was 12. Me alone at a table, a single cupcake in front of me. No balloons. No guests. I hadn't remembered that photo existed, but there it was. The caption beneath read, "Forgotten, again." Another slide. Ryan's new car. Then a screenshot of the bank transfer my parents made to help him buy it. Next to a photo of the second-hand bike I used for 3 years, chain rusted, seat torn. Whisper started. Then came the side-by-side of my high school graduation. Me standing alone in front of the school sign, versus Ryan's, where they'd rented out an entire venue. I watched their faces twist. Then audio. A voicemail. My mom's voice. "Kale, we just don't think it's a good idea for you to come to Thanksgiving this year. Ryan's friends will be there. And, well, it might be awkward." Slide after slide. Message after message. Photos. Emails. Comments. Years of quiet neglect lined up in perfect, undeniable order. And then, just as the room reached a boiling silence, the screen went black. I stood. I wasn't angry. I wasn't yelling. I just picked up my glass and walked slowly to the center of the floor. Their faces were pale. My dad looked like someone had poured ice water down his back. My mom's hand hovered near her wine glass, trembling slightly. Ryan just stared, and I smiled. The silence that followed the slideshow was suffocating. You could have heard a fork drop. A few people shifted in their seats. Someone near the back awkwardly coughed. The DJ looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. The lights came back up slowly, like even they were hesitant to reveal everyone's faces. I scanned the room, taking it all in. Shocked expressions, some horrified, some curious, a few looking at me with something close to respect. Or maybe it was guilt. My mother's wine glass was still halfway to her lips. She hadn't blinked. My dad's jaw was clenched, arms crossed tight, like if he didn't move, the moment wouldn't be real. Ryan just looked confused, like someone had rewritten his version of reality mid-sentence. I walked to the front of the room slowly, calm, my heart thudding but steady. I didn't rush. I wanted every single step to echo. I didn't take the microphone. I didn't need it. I was going to sit through this, I said, voice clear and calm. I really was. I came here thinking maybe tonight would be different. That maybe, just once, I'd hear something kind. Or at the very least, be treated like I existed. My aunt shifted uncomfortably in her seat. My cousin lowered her eyes. But then I heard the toast. And I realized I wasn't here as a guest. I was here as the punchline. I turned toward my dad. I've spent years wondering what I did wrong. Why I didn't measure up. Why you could look at one son and beam with pride, and look at the other like he was a clerical error. But tonight, I stopped wondering. Because I finally realized it was never about me. It was about you. He opened his mouth to speak, but I held up a hand. No, you've talked enough. All of you have. I looked at my mom next. You know what hurts the most? It's not even the insults. It's the way you made it sound like my existence was an inconvenience. Like loving me was some extra effort you just couldn't be bothered to make. She looked like she'd been slapped. I turned to the crowd, my voice still steady. You all laughed. You clapped. Some of you even joined in. But let me ask, if I had gotten up and said those things about Ryan, would you have laughed then? Nobody answered. Just silence. I didn't come here to ruin the night. But I also didn't come here to be humiliated. Again, I've stayed quiet for a long time. Too long. I thought maybe if I kept showing up, kept proving myself, you'd see me. But now I see that the problem wasn't me. It was that I was never what you wanted me to be. And I'm done chasing something that doesn't exist. I walked to the table where the gifts were stacked, dozens of envelopes, cards, wrapped boxes with metallic ribbons. I scanned until I saw mine, the thick white envelope I had slid in earlier. I picked it up, held it in my hand for a moment, then calmly tore it down the middle. Clean. No hesitation. I tossed the pieces on the table. You don't need my gift, I said quietly. You already gave yourselves enough. And with that, I turned and walked toward the exit. Behind me, voices started to rise. Hushed murmurs, a few gasps. I heard my cousin whisper, "Did he just?" I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. I made it halfway across the parking lot before I finally let the tears fall. Not because I was sad. Not really. But because for the first time in years, I finally felt free. My phone buzzed just as I reached my car. It was Ryan. What was that? Why did you do that? You embarrassed everyone. You embarrassed me. I stared at the message for a second, then typed back. Imagine how that felt. For the last 10 years. I hit send, then blocked his number. And then, just when I thought the night was over, my phone rang again. This time, a number I didn't recognize. The voice on the other end was low, nervous. Cale? Hey, it's Aunt Meredith. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was that bad. I should have, her voice cracked. I should have said something earlier. Can we talk? And that's when it hit me. That maybe this wasn't just about revenge. Maybe this was about finally being heard. But not everyone was calling to apologize. The next morning, my mom posted a status that read, "Some people just don't understand what it means to be part of a family. You try your best, and they still find a way to shame you." The comments were split. Some defending her, some asking questions, a few linking the slideshow that, apparently, someone had recorded and posted online. It had gone viral, and that was only the beginning. The video spread faster than I ever could have imagined. By noon the next day, I was getting texts from people I hadn't spoken to since high school, former classmates, neighbors, even a girl I'd barely known who wrote, "I always thought something was off with your parents. Watching that, wow. I'm so sorry. I didn't even know how they got my number." It was like someone had opened a valve, and all the years of pressure I'd buried just came flooding out, not just from me, but from the people who had seen the way I was treated and never said a word. Now they had. It had started with a single Reddit post from someone who'd been at the party. I don't know who, but they wrote this long rant titled, "I just witnessed the most savage graduation revenge in real life." They described everything. The slideshow, the quotes, the torn envelope, even paraphrased what I'd said. Within hours, someone else posted the video footage in the comments. And then someone shared it to Twitter. And then TikTok. I couldn't open an app without seeing my face, frozen on the screen as I stood in front of my family, staring them down like a ghost come back to haunt them. I hadn't planned on any of this. I didn't want internet fame. I just wanted my family to see me, but now the whole world had. Ryan was the first to break the silence. Not to me, he posted on Instagram. A picture of him at the party, smiling with the cake behind him, captioned, "Even the best nights have their drama. Keep shining anyway." The comments were a mess. Half of them were still oblivious. People from his school saying things like, "Proud of you, bro," and "Ignore the haters." But the rest they knew. People were linking the video, quoting my mom's voice from the audio clips, and asking him why he'd never stood up for his brother. One person wrote, "Imagine watching your parents humiliate your sibling for years and doing nothing but smile for the camera." He turned off comments by the end of the day. And then my mom called. I stared at the screen for a long time before I answered. Part of me didn't want to, but a bigger part of me needed to know what she'd say, needed to hear it, whatever it was. Her voice was tight, clipped, like she'd been crying but didn't want me to know. "Cale," she started. "I don't even know where to begin." "Maybe try with an apology," I said. I didn't yell. I didn't snap. I just said it plainly, like I was asking her to pass the salt. She hesitated. "You blindsided us. That was supposed to be Ryan's night." I was blindsided. I cut in. Every birthday, every holiday, every time you made me feel like I didn't belong in my own house. I sat through years of being ignored, mocked, and pushed aside. And you want to talk about one slideshow? More silence. Then a sniffle. "It wasn't meant to come off that way. You've always been different. Harder to connect with." I almost laughed. "You mean harder to brag about? That's not fair." "No. What's not fair is watching your brother get rewarded for existing while you have to beg just to be noticed. You think this is about a party?" That was the tip of the iceberg. Her voice cracked again. "You made us look like monsters. You made yourselves look like monsters." I just held up the mirror. She didn't say anything for a long time. I heard her breathing, slow and shaky. Then, finally, in the smallest voice I'd ever heard from her, "What do you want from us, Cale?" I leaned back against my couch, stared at the ceiling. "Honestly, I wanted you to care. But now, I think I just want peace." I ended the call before she could respond. That night, I got another call. This time from someone I didn't expect, my uncle, Eric. He lived in Oregon, barely came to family events, kind of the black sheep of the extended clan. He was the one who'd given me my first sketchbook when I was 8. I hadn't heard from him in years. "Kid," he said, voice warm and amused. "You blew the damn roof off." I laughed, the tension in my chest finally cracking. Didn't think you'd seen it. Oh, I saw it. Everyone saw it. I've been texting your mom for days, telling her for years she was treating you like wallpaper. But she always said you were just quiet. Glad you finally made some noise. We talked for 2 hours. About everything. About family. About how he'd been pushed out for being too weird. An artist who didn't marry young, didn't work in finance, didn't go to church every Sunday. He told me I reminded him of himself, that he was proud of me, that if I ever wanted a break from all the chaos, I was welcome to come stay with him, clear my head, get some fresh air. I cried after that call. The kind of tears that sneak up on you when someone finally says what you've been dying to hear for years. The days passed. More texts. More posts. Some friends unfollowed me. Others reached out, said they'd always thought I was the quiet one, but now they realized I was just drowned out. And then the job offer came. It wasn't from a family member. It was from someone who had seen the video and happened to be the creative director of a nonprofit that worked with underserved youth, kids who felt forgotten. They said they needed someone who understood what that was like, someone who could build something meaningful from that pain. They wanted me. And just when I thought I'd finally broken free of the family drama, a letter showed up in my mailbox. No return address. Just my name, written in tight, neat handwriting. Inside, an invitation to Ryan's second graduation party, an intimate family-only gathering. Let's heal. And right beneath that, in my father's handwriting, please don't bring a USB this time. I sat with the letter in my lap for nearly an hour, just staring at it. No return address, no RSVP instructions, just a single, quiet plea scrawled in my dad's handwriting. Please don't bring a USB this time. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to feel. Regret? Closure? Curiosity? My hands didn't shake when I read it, not like they used to when I got messages from them. I didn't feel anger anymore either, just a kind of dull ache, like pressing on a bruise you've lived with for so long it barely stings anymore. I folded the letter once, tucked it back into the envelope, and left it on the kitchen counter. 2 days later, I called Uncle Eric. I got an invitation, I said. To what? Ryan's redemption party, he said with a chuckle. Something like that. You thinking about going? I paused. I don't know. There was a silence on the line. Then he said, if you're going to go, kid, go on your terms. Don't go to appease them. Go because you have something to say. I thought about that. I packed my overnight bag the next morning. The party was being held at our old family house, the one I hadn't stepped foot in for nearly 5 years. I pulled into the driveway just before sunset. Everything looked the same. The paint was still chipped on the shutters. The porch light flickered like it always did. The wind chimes Mom had bought from a flea market 10 years ago still hung by the door, tangled and rusting. I knocked once. No one answered. I turned the knob and stepped in. The air smelled like candles and old wood. Inside, the living room had been rearranged, with folding chairs and streamers draped clumsily across the archways. Congratulations again, Ryan. Banner hung crooked above the fireplace. There were only about 10 people, just close family this time. My parents, a few aunts and uncles, 1 or 2 cousins, and Ryan. He was wearing a soft blue dress shirt, sleeves rolled, like he was trying to look casual and polished at the same time. He turned when he saw me, surprised, like he hadn't actually expected I'd show. Cale, he said. You came. Apparently I'm family, I said, and walked past him. My mom came over quickly. She looked more tired than I remembered. Her makeup was perfect, but her eyes were red-rimmed, like she hadn't slept right in days. I'm glad you came, she said quietly. We were hoping for a fresh start. I didn't respond. Not yet. My dad kept his distance, standing near the drinks table like he was guarding it. His mouth was a firm line. I could tell he hadn't agreed with inviting me, or maybe he was just waiting for something to go wrong. They ushered everyone into the dining room soon after, a long table crammed with mismatched chairs. They'd made spaghetti, garlic bread, and salad, the default, we're trying meal. My mom insisted I sit next to her. Ryan was at the head of the table, of course. The conversation was hollow. People made nervous small talk about traffic, the weather, someone's new dog. No one dared bring up the slideshow or the aftermath. The elephant in the room wasn't just present. It was tap dancing across the lasagna. About 20 minutes in, Ryan stood up and clinked his glass. Can I say something? Everyone looked up. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here. And to my brother, he said, glancing at me. I know the last party didn't go how we wanted, but I'm glad you came tonight. Really? He lifted his glass. Everyone followed. I lifted mine too, barely. And, he added, I want to say I'm sorry. I didn't realize how bad it was for you. I guess I was just caught up in being the one they leaned on. But that doesn't mean it was right. A few people murmured awkward agreement. My mom wiped at the corner of her eye, as if even this half-hearted acknowledgement was some great act of courage. I stayed seated. I didn't clap. I just looked at him. And then I stood up. I'm glad you said that, I said, because I have something to say too. My mom tensed. My dad set his wine glass down a little too hard. I didn't come here to fight, I said. I came here because you asked me to. Because I thought maybe, this family could finally act like a family. I scanned their faces. But I'm not going to pretend that one dinner erases everything. I turned toward my parents. You made me feel small for most of my life. Not once did you stand up for me. Not once did you apologize when I was left out, ignored, mocked at your table. You let it happen. Worse, you encouraged it. My dad opened his mouth. No, I said, sharper now. You don't get to interrupt. You raised a golden child, and you left the other one in the shadows. That wasn't an accident. That was a choice. I turned to Ryan. And you? You saw it happen every day? You didn't just benefit from it. You thrived in it. You made sure you stayed the center of attention because you liked it there. And even now, you're apologizing like it's some casual inconvenience. Like this was about a party. It wasn't. It was about being treated like I didn't exist. The room was frozen. But I do exist, I said, my voice steady. And I'm not angry anymore. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I'm here to say, I'm done. I'm done begging to be seen. I'm done showing up so I can be dismissed all over again. I came tonight so I could say this to your faces. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a small card. This is my new number, I said, placing it on the table. If you want to actually be in my life, on my terms, you'll use it. If not, I'm okay with that too. I took one last look around the table. My mom's lip trembled. My dad looked like he'd bitten down on glass. Ryan just looked stunned. I walked out. It wasn't dramatic. No one chased after me. No one screamed or begged or threw a drink. It was quiet, final, and more powerful than anything I could have planned. When I got to my car, I sat behind the wheel for a long time, just breathing. The night air was cool against my face. The windows fogged slightly. My heart, which had been pounding through my chest, finally began to settle. I didn't cry this time. 2 weeks passed. No calls. No texts. Not even a voicemail. I was okay with that. I started a new position at the nonprofit. They gave me a corner desk with a plant and a little brass nameplate. I led my first group of students, kids who'd been forgotten by their own families, who lit up when someone just remembered their name. I saw pieces of myself in each one of them, and for the first time, I knew exactly where I belonged. Then, one afternoon, I got a letter. No return address again. I opened it cautiously. It was a photo. From the party. I was standing at the head of the table, holding my glass. The moment right before I'd spoken. I hadn't seen anyone take it. On the back, in familiar handwriting. Thank you for not bringing a USB this time. You brought something louder. Dad. No apology. No call. But I smiled anyway. Because I didn't need it. They had heard me. And that was enough.
Did you enjoy my story? What a journey it has been. I truly wonder what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have chosen silence to keep the peace, or would you have done what I did to reclaim your dignity? Let's meet in the comments below. I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. I'm reading every single one. Which city are you listening from tonight? If my story resonated with you, you can support me and help me bring more stories like this to the world by sending a super thanks. Your sweet support means the world to me and allows me to continue this journey with all of you. On the screen now, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend you watch next. There are so many more on my channel, each with its own lessons and triumphs. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss a new chapter. Thank you for being here with me. Until the next story, with love and respect.